board resignation.
Any others? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. By roll call?
Darrell Jones, aye.
Tim Beard, aye.
Rich Sporting Senior.
Jenna Darling, aye.
Steve Morris, aye. Motion passes. All right, next we'll move to public comment. First we have Brianna Davis.
Hello, my name is Brianna Davis. I'm talking as a parent and a taxpayer right now. I want to start by giving you a picture of how my child was during the school year last year. My child was active in sports, made honor roll and high honors at the end of the year, was recognized by coaches for her sportsmanship in sports. It was the first year that she connected with all her teachers and had a great positive attitude. Now we start this year with one of her first assignments that was getting to know you assignment. She had to state her favorite music, class, etc. And then what was upsetting to see was the word she picked for word of the year, which is hopeless. Our daughter has made some bad decisions, which are typical of a teenager, and is trying to learn from them. She has started off the year after the second week of school failing and still continues to feel unsuccessful in academics. When progress reports came out, it was the first we saw that her academics were poor. This shocked us, considering her 504 states the family appreciates open and frequent communication, especially when she begins to decline academically or emotionally. We started to question whether the teachers understood the 504, since it was a very clear statement of why teachers' guidance should communicate to parents or even other staff that work with our child. The 504 is for a diagnosis of anxiety, and this does impact our child's interactions with staff, peers, home, and her decisions. We are not saying our child is perfect and is still navigating her decisions, whether right or wrong. She's so frustrated that she uses avoidance behavior, and then people judge her. Many times she will share with my husband what bothers her in class, but doesn't have strong connections with all her teachers, so she will not let them help her with what she needs or to learn better. She becomes so frustrated that her reaction becomes very agitated, yelling and stating, "Nobody helps me." What was her word for the year? Hopeless. She feels people don't validate the effort she does put into her work. If you show you don't have time for her, then she will not give you the time back. We also hear from our middle schooler, who is in high academic standing, "I hate school and no one listens to us or believes us." Now I would question as a parent, what type of environment, school culture, classroom is my child in to make her feel this way? You have students that feel labeled and targeted by teachers, and the students will do avoidance behavior. But is that taken seriously, or do you truly get the student's side or listen to what they say? You may say that is why the school has a SAP counselor. When you use the SAP counselor as a consequence, and then it is assumed that the family must have a problem, you are only causing more negative impact for the child and reactive behavior. SAP counselor needs to be the family decision, not the school's. The flip side of that is when you use a counselor as a consequence and the student refuses, you give them another consequence. How many times do you need to knock a kid down? Technology is really what educators rely on to do assignments, and the school system uses PowerSchool, which is not always user-friendly. As a parent, if I look at PowerSchool, I assume the grades would be up to date, but that is not the case. I did request my child's grade, knowing that I couldn't rely on technology to give me up-to-date grades. I also believe that going into PowerSchool, I cannot see the assignments my child would be missing or has handed in. As a parent, I appreciate the teachers that post the same assignments they give on paper also being the same assignments on Google Classroom. This approach has made it easier to help my child. The most beneficial tool for a parent that the school could implement is maybe using a different platform like Alma, where it is parent-friendly. As a district, the school needs to provide more professional development for teachers on how to connect, come up with strategies, ways to differentiate in both academically and social-emotionally for the students they have with identified disabilities, whether it is for a 504 or IEP. Each student is unique. For example, if a student has anxiety, then that anxiety will be uniquely different for each individual. This first month of school was supposed to be about building relationships, and that didn't happen with our child. I am sure part of this is teachers not having the tools they need. Our house has not been a happy house due to the letters we received, which has also affected our student academically with having no guidance or 504 completely followed when out of school. Life is a challenge, and she will have many more outside of school. Students have suffered greatly the last 3 years, and the challenges now are even higher to deal with, both as a parent and educator. You say the school is transparent, but that word is meaningless. The communication from school and home doesn't meet in the middle. When you want straight answers, the percentage is low, you will get them. We have always been involved parents, and with 3 children in the school system, 1 in middle school and 2 in the high school with certain needs that a 504 and IEP cover. We do expect answers, and if that doesn't happen, then you can include us in the parents that you don't want to deal with. It is a sad and eye-opening statement that I would hope would get more recognition by teachers and administrators when a student states the word of the year, hopeless.
Oh, great. She should let me go first.
Austin Davis.
No. My name's Austin Davis. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a member of this community. I have 3 children in the school district. I have some letters here that are kind of confusing to me. I understand the principle of it, so I'll read the first one to you. I got this October 13th. This letter is to inform you your child has a 3-day suspension. I won't go into a whole of it, but it happened on October 8th at a school function for sports on the bus. Safety. Right here, it's highlighted, safety. Physical contact, hands-on, inappropriate physical contact. Safety. That's October 13th. October 17th, I get another letter from the sports administration. You know, I get it. It was a sports function. It's an athlete. You hold them to a higher standard. As a result of an investigation. Investigation. You would think you would get your facts straight, right? An investigation. You investigate something, you look into it. October 8th, the same incident. Use of alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. What? Are you kidding me? What is that garbage? This is safety. This is drugs and alcohol. The same incident. Same child that my wife was just talking about. So, I get this letter a week ago today. I send an email right here. It's my name on it, the date, the time. Paste in these 2 letters with the discrepancy. There's a list of people I emailed it to. Nobody got back to me. A week later, nobody has gone back to me. There's 2 names that signed this right here. Drugs, alcohol, from the sports department. Neither one of them could get back to me. They signed it. You proofread it? You investigated it. What did you investigate? I want an answer. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Then I had a different administrator comment back on the email my wife sent. I won't call them out because I don't call out people, but I think you're going to know who it is. This person says, I wasn't saying there was a discrepancy. Well, I don't know. That looks like a discrepancy to me, doesn't it? Physical contact, drugs and alcohol use. Not saying there was a discrepancy. I do, however, understand the letter could be more clearly written. Clearly written? I don't care about format. I don't care about grammar. Clearly written? Facts. Drug use? Physical contact. Doesn't make sense. You know what my household's been like? When you ask your child, oh, I don't know, is this something new? This come up? She goes to her room crying? Think that's easy? It's not. That's all I got to say. Somebody wants to read these again? Because some of your names are on those.
Mr. Teller.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Am I supposed to sign a book to get on the open forum?
Would you like to be on?
Please, for a minute. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here on behalf of the BAC. Looks like we are going to have enough members to at least get started. Like to find 2 or 3 more volunteers for the BAC, which is the Budget Advisory Committee, in case anybody doesn't know. Also like to get an organizational meeting together by the middle of November. I already know who the representative is from the Select Board, but I'm not sure if you guys have chosen one or if you need to choose one. And if there's any questions by the board members as far as the Budget Advisory Committee, I would entertain them if I know the answers.
To the BAC, correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely end of November, beginning of December. So I'm glad to hear that there's enough members for having a committee back. It's great.
Looking for more, though. Always looking for more.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Kessler?
Jeff Kessler.
Right, hello, Jeff Kessler. Couple of things. One of them I've spoke to a couple of you about last week at the expo at the High School and Tech Center. That was an excellent event. I really enjoyed going through, and I actually ran out of time, you know, with all that was going on. But one thing that's been going on for a while, you're in the middle of about a $16 million renovation of the Tech Center up there, and you have 5 core programs, and one of them is pretty much being sort of left shortchanged, and that's cosmetology. The state requires 1,500 hours of classroom instruction, whatever, to be able to get licensed in the state. When the Tech Center opened in 92, 93, it was a 3-year program for cosmetology, which meant the students coming out would have their 1,500 hours and would be able to go to work. I think about after the first 10 years or so, it got cut back to 2 years, which, in talking with the instructor, now leaves the students pretty much about 1 year short of getting licensed to be able to work in the field they've been pursuing in the Tech Center for the previous 2 years. And there used to be a beauty school in Lebanon they could go to complete that 3rd year, and I think the cost is $15,000, $20,000 for that effort. But that's closed, so now they either go to Keene or I think the Seacoast for completing their program they start in the Tech Center. A couple tech centers in the state, Manchester, and I think one at the Seacoast, their cosmetology programs are 3-year programs. So what I'm, I guess, asking the school board and the administration to look at is to see just what would be possible to start to see about bringing back that 3rd year of the program. Because the other tech programs, the people going in there when they come out, they're basically employable. The cosmetology students after 2 years are not. So it's just something I think we're sort of shortchanging the students that are pursuing that vocation and leaving them a bit short. And, you know, it may not be a simple answer. You know, certainly there would be some cost involved. And it may be something to do as a evening program, maybe even bring in tuition students from other schools that want to complete a program. But, you know, it's something, as you're looking at your budget, to maybe look at, maybe not for next year, but maybe the year after or so, so we can, you know, so that we can, say, do justice to the students that are investing at least 2 years in the cosmetology program. The other thing I want to comment on, and I've been reading that you're looking at doing bonuses for teachers at the end of the year, and I'm going to ask you to consider, maybe if you're committed to doing that and such, maybe consider doing a partial bonus right before Christmas. You know, it's a time with everyone has more expenses, and if you're going to give so much at the end of the year, you know, even a couple $100 before Christmas would say a lot, you know, as to how the administration here is looking after the teachers, and it would certainly probably benefit a bunch of them. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Mr. Ferrigno?
Lisa Frigno, first grade teacher, Newport citizen, and NTA co-president. At the May 11th, 2023 school board meeting, Effective School Solutions, or ESS, excuse me, presented a proposal to begin 2 behavioral programs at Richards, one for K through 2 and one for 3 through 5. At the time, I asked the presenter what would happen if they could not hire someone to come to Sullivan County. She was patronizing, or perhaps just naive, when she assured me that would not be a problem. She said, in fact, they have even moved people from as far away as San Diego. Well, it turns out getting people to move from San Diego or most anywhere else to a small town like Newport isn't as easy as one would think. They still have not found clinicians to staff these programs, and Richards School was left to quickly develop a Plan B. Plan B included adding a conduct coordinator position to Richards, reorganizing behavioral staff, and creating 1 multi-grade classroom for the lower level. I am here to tell you those folks are working extremely hard, but Plan B is not working. Students' needs are not being met. Staff are being hurt on a daily basis, kicked, hit, bit, spit on, sworn at. Last week, I witnessed a teacher trying to get help for a student. The student eloped, which is behavioral speak for left the classroom. No one knew where the student was. The teacher tried calling the front office as is the protocol, but that number was busy. Then she tried calling Mrs. Pickering's office. That phone was also busy. She tried calling Mr. Clark and Mr. Stanley's direct line, but there was no answer. Just as I was leaving the classroom to go get help to look for the student, one of the behavioral staff who had a walkie happened by with another student and used the walkie to alert everyone about the missing student. Students going missing and no adult to find them is not a good thing. Now, everyone is trying hard. Mrs. Finnegan has been in our building more than she ever was. Mr. Clark introduced a new program that will allow teachers to enter behaviors and track concerns. But we simply do not have enough people or people with the right kind of training to manage the overwhelming needs in our building. I would like to point out that we have 7 grades in our building with 2 administrators, 1 school counselor. Newport Middle High School also has 7 grades with 4 administrators and 3 school counselors. I think the perception is that we have little people and they're easy to manage. But we have little people with very big feelings and not a lot of coping skills. Mr. Clark and Mr. Stanley and the behavior team are running from crisis to crisis. They need help. The staff needs help. And most importantly, our students need help. Thank you.
Mr. Minnick. Kurt Schmidt.
Good evening, Kurt Minnick. I was reflecting a little bit right there, hearing about the problems with the students and getting the help they need. But why I'm here tonight is to talk about there should be no question about where the $290,000 goes into the teachers. But not as a bonus. Bonus is going to just keep our flow of teachers coming in one door and going out the other. They can use that money to move next year after they get their tenure here. Personally, the way I see it is work hard for getting them a lot of money. Make them the highest paid teachers in the school, and you won't have all this distress and all the children upset, the teachers leaving. But damn it, be sure they work for it. I was reflecting about a student on the bus when I was here in Newport. He was kicked off or removed, wasn't allowed to ride on buses. 6 of them he went through, 6 buses, 3rd grader, Mr. Personality Plus. I said, I'll take him, I got no problem. The first day, yeah, he banged his head off the window and did everything to disrupt, sitting right next to me. I just drove my bus. Next day, he was hollering and singing loud songs. I just drove my bus. The 3rd day, I gave him something to do. I made him part of the bus. Never had a problem. It was, hi, Kurt. Good morning, Kurt. So we came into a school break. And I asked his father, I said, can I have this third grader come up and work on the buses with me during break? I'll pay him by the hour. Oh, that'd be great, Kurt, please. I said, all right, I'll do it. Made the arrangements. You never had a better worker in your life. He worked better than a lot of men that I had working with me over the years. This guy was full of initiative. You didn't have to tell him anything. He knew. Once you pointed something out, he was on it. He was so tough after I paid him $3 an hour, he said, that's not enough. I said, what? I said, that's what I told you I was going to pay you, $3 an hour. He said, I'd like $5. I left it at the $3. But the point I wanted to make, the other drivers were watching all this out of the bus barn. And one of them made a point while the other two were watching to come out. He reached his hand in his pocket and went over to give the kids some money to buy a soda and a bag of chips. I said, don't you dare do that. He knows manipulation when he sees it. Everyone does. That's why he's so street smart. He's a good one. And the guy turned around and walked off. So in saying that, giving the teachers a bonus is just, yeah, it's nice. It's a nice thing to stick things together for a little bit, but it doesn't amount to a thing. Would I like to have a couple $1,000 or a bonus? Yeah, of course I would. But you got to put it in their pay to get the longevity out of them. And I'm not talking another 3% or 1%. I mean, I just got 3% of my Social Security. I go, wow, that's a real stroke, you know? So give the teachers, work on it, whatever you come up with for a system, but give them some solid money. Get out there and get the money from the town. We don't need a rec center, yeah, or a community center. Yeah, we do. All these years, people think I'm against the community center. No, I'm not. Absolutely not. But I have never let that on until just now, because I was always had the questions what they were doing and why they were doing it. They thought I was against it. Absolutely not. I just wanted it done the right way. In the timing of this in this town, I have never read any articles where the people who wanted to move this town said, do you have a nice community center? Not one. The first thing that comes out with families is school system. They want a good, solid school system, and you're going to get that by paying the teachers a lot of money to be good teachers. That's enough of me. Thank you.
Next, we will approve the minutes, public, October 12th.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Spaulding.
6 items. Page 2. Not quite halfway down, 2 non-publics in a row. September 14th. Just take one out.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please have that stated again a little bit louder because of the air conditioning? And I also do not hear who made the motion.
I made the motion.
I seconded it. And I'm going to cough so nobody say anything. Thank you.
Do you want me to turn that off? Do you want me to turn that off?
It's chilly. So the correction was to remove, on page 2, it says non-public minutes of September 14th, twice. So you just need to remove one of them.
after September 14th, it says September 28th. Thought that was weird.
Right, but then it says September 14th underneath it.
I think that's the heading. It says non-public minutes of September 14th, September 28th. It's the same above as well. If it's public from 11th, public from 14th.
Oh, I see.
And
Okay.
so it's a heading, and then the first one is November 14th, and the second one is November 28th.
It's not a redundant.
No, it's the heading of that, what she's going to be talking about in the next two paragraphs.
Okay, stand corrected. Page 4. Right at the very top, first sentence, Beard said the discussion was not over. The school is continuing to pay the town. I don't believe that is correct. And I assume that's referring to the $5,800.
Yeah, so it should just say that the discussion was not over. Schools continuing to pay the town. If you strike that out, I think you'd be fine. Well, and the next line, in discussion, it was say the school's been and continue to pay. So it should just be Beard said the discussion was not over. I'd strike the rest of that.
Next is right after the $5,800. Mrs. Ferrigno stated, there has been a workshop with Mrs. Finnegan on legality on how teachers could legally restrain students. Teachers cannot restrain a child unless they are in imminent danger to themselves or others, meaning either the student or person would require medical care. Where does that come from?
The law.
Okay. Can you, at some time soon, forward the law to me? The particular statute?
Yep.
And I think that statute should be into the reading of our minutes. It is an important issue. And should someone read Mrs. Ferrigno's statement, knowing the law would add content to it. Further down, where the text changes to be paid at the end of the school year, 2024. The motion passed 4-0, but it should say as amended, because I made the motion and did not make it as an amendment, but as the motion passed, I assumed that the board agreed with the amendment. And if we're done that, I'm on page 7. And specifically, I made a statement at the end of the discussion that, was this negotiations with the Newport Teachers Association in a public setting, which would be unlawful. And that was the end of the discussion. It is not represented in the minutes. So I would ask that my words be taken from the tape and put into the minutes.
Excuse me, Mr. Spalton. Is that under communications, or is that after your non-public that you're talking about?
We're talking about the actual discussion that happened.
After you exited the non-public?
It was at the end of the public session.
So during board discussion, before you went into non-public?
Right.
Before non-public? During board discussion, communications?
Right.
I'm sorry, communications.
Made it?
Do we want to table these until we see those changes?
I will accept the amendment. Sure.
Any other?
I have a procedural question.
Yes, sir.
Not about anything that's down here, but I went to the concert the other day in Claremont, and I'd like to talk about that just a little bit. So whenever it would be convenient, let me know. Now,
No, well, we need to finish this.
this is aside from here, but I do want to talk about that at some
So
point.
then I would do that at the end of communication.
Okay.
So, all those in favor of accepting the minutes with the amendment for changes? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? I abstain. 401. Next, we'll move to the non-public minutes for approval.
Well, they don't need to be
Yeah.
approved.
They don't need to.
Because
This
the,
is part
yeah.
of the change.
Yeah, so
it's
part of the
there
change.
attached?
Yeah, it's right on there. It says that they were approved during our
Oh.
October,
Okay.
and they were posted the very next day.
Stand corrected.
I would like to make a point on
Yes, sir.
the minutes, the sheets themselves do not have the date on it. And there's a place for the date. Minutes of non-public session, date.
See, it's not just you.
All right, next we will add the student, or, yep. You don't have a student representative?
No, we do
Not yet.
So we will go to
Should go to communications at that point.
action items. We have no
That's right,
reaction.
yes.
Correct. So student handbook.
So at the beginning of the school year, the board approves the handbooks for each of the buildings. And the middle school would like to add something under their dress code on page 14, just to kind of, there is a part in it that says that the dress code is up to the discretion of administration, but they wanted to add some more clarity into it. And so he's asking to add, students shall not wear accessories or clothing that could pose potential danger to themselves, others, and/or property. This could include items such as heavy chains, spiked bracelets, and/or other items of dress. Other styles or types of clothing or makeup may also be inappropriate. Ultimately, the appropriateness of a student's appearance will be determined by the administration. So I'm looking for a motion to add that into.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, like, what are we talking here? Like, I don't like the girls' makeup, so she can't wear it. I don't like your hoop earrings, they're too big for my liking, they need to be smaller.
Well, it depends if it poses a danger. Right, because somebody could grab them. So it could be,
No one's supposed to put their hands on anyone though.
right, but you know as well as I do that that happens. And so there could be one. But we have kids coming in with chains and things like that on their attire, which is,
Sir, Mr. Baldwin.
I'm a yes, but I would also like to comment. Many years ago, there was a court case, U.S. Supreme Court, and I believe it's Tinker versus school system. The children wore armbands, and as an owner of expression, I can see something like that. We want to encourage their expression, but when it gets overboard, it has to be restrained. And it becomes more than an expression, when in fact it is something that could cause harm to a child. Can you come in dressed as John Wayne with a 6-gun on your hip? What is it in? So, expression there, yes, but not expression that is, I'm going to use the word overwhelming, and more of a disturbance rather than an expression.
Somehow you gotta be careful with that because,
It's a First Amendment violation.
pardon me?
It's a First Amendment violation.
Could be. You gotta be careful with it, because if they're around any moving equipment or anything, depending on the length of the bracelet, the necklace, whatever it may be, you know, that would present an immediate danger that, you know, a kid get that caught in a piece of equipment, they could lose a hand. So I don't quite know how to word that, but it can be a major safety thing, depending on, the you know, now if they're in English class, heck no. But if they're in any kind of a shop activity where there's machinery, moving equipment, in cooking classes, with the mixers, get a bracelet or something caught on a mixer, you know, it could be very ugly. So, and I don't know how to meld that into everything, and like Tim says, the First Amendment thing, but somehow the kids, the parents, everybody, teachers, have to understand what a safety factor is.
Just passing a doorknob and falling.
Yeah.
And thinking that you're reaching for the ground when your attire gets hung up on the doorknob.
Some of the judgment on that becomes subjective, but it needs to be.
I just think that most kids in high school from the 90s and early 2000s would have been sent home to change, because I just feel like every day it was a choker or a wallet chain or whatever it is. I struggle with this one a little bit. I understand the safety component, but I also think our teachers are fully capable if you're going into a class that, hey, can you just put that on your desk while we do this
And
activity?
that's where you leave it at discretion.
I have a hard
I
time
agree.
versus a student that does choose to use something to harm another one or themselves. Does it then become a case-by-case basis? Do you eliminate that for everybody? This one's tricky for me.
okay, this is just one.
I don't want to,
Would the teacher or other people recognize the possible effect of what could be done with attire that wasn't normal? A chain
I
being
wish I had
slung.
the safety presentation that I did in Detroit on this.
This is middle school, this would be easier for high school, but as far as like the safety thing, like Daryl's bringing up, like, for instance, like welding class, they have jumpsuits, like, and obviously the teacher knows you can't have your long hair hanging out if you have long hair, like, you know, that's on the teacher for that. But, you know, it could be used as a weapon, so if my I don't have a middle schooler, but if the middle schooler comes in and has a cross around his neck, that could be used as a weapon, we're not gonna let him do that. I won't sign off on that. If you had like particular things like spike collars, I have a big issue with that safety thing. It'd be easier for me to be like, I agree with that. But when you're gonna put the power of that decision on one person or two people, I have a serious issue with that, because then it becomes a, well, you did it for this person, but now it's an opinion. Now it's the administration, their opinion of that clothing or that makeup or, and I just have an issue with it. It's not like, and when does it stop, you know? We already have a bunch of rules. The kids can't wear like pajama pants and stuff, right? I see that all the time, so we're not even forcing that rule. So why are we gonna add more rules to the thing? But if you had to, like, if you came up to us and said, hey, these spike collars are an issue, it'd be easier for me. Okay, I could see how that could be an issue, right? Having that's a danger or whatever. But when it's such a broad scope that we're signing off on, I can't sign off on it.
So it does say that in there, Tim. It says, students shall not wear accessories or clothing that could pose potential danger to themselves and others and/or property. This includes items such as heavy chains, spiked bracelets, and/or other items of dress. Well, then there's the second part where it says other styles of types of clothing or makeup may also be inappropriate. I mean, we could take that piece, if you don't feel comfortable with that piece. I mean, I think to eliminate the whole thing.
Heavy chains are seen as a weapon in Detroit.
Without that in there, the next thing that came in that was dangerous, that wasn't particularly listed, would be okay.
Yeah.
So you've got to broaden it by a statement.
Somehow, yeah. We've got some really broad ramifications to this one, and I think we need to talk more about it.
Do we have an issue right now where students are wearing spike collars and bracelets and
Yes, we do.
18 gauge chains?
I don't know if it's 18 gauge, but yes, we do.
I don't even know if that's big.
Is that like a tire chain?
I've seen pictures of some, if they were gold, there's some
Yeah.
rich people, not at our school, but just talking about, my recommendation would be, if we need immediate remedy for this, it sounds like there's probably a quorum that would be behind the direct spiked chains. Makeup, I think, is too, you're not gonna hurt somebody with your makeup. You might scare me or somebody else if you look like a clown.
A dark corner, right?
Right, I can't tell a girl their earrings are
Right.
big because someone could grab them. Well, just like telling a girl, sorry, you can't wear that. And I've heard this before with my daughter many years ago, but was she was wearing, her strap was too small, and it may encourage boys to grab her bra strap, whatever. I'm like, well, if you're a boy and you touch my daughter's straps on her bra, whatever, it's gonna be a serious issue. Keep your hands off my daughter. It's real simple. We're not gonna change the rules to keep them from being enticed by it. They need to learn self-control.
Right.
It's their problem, and they're not gonna punish someone saying you can't do that. Now, that was a while ago, and it's not, but that's where it brings me, because I'm thinking, wait, like, how far are you gonna go? If you're gonna go that far, then just put the kids in uniforms. You don't have to worry about any of this. But, which I'm not saying do that, but I'm just saying, where's it stop?
I'm behind doing that.
You know, the spike chains and whatever. Like, okay, it'd just be easier if you came here and like, here's a picture of what they're wearing, because then you might show us and we'll be like, oh, that's totally not okay. When it's just broad like that, I see it as a potential for it being a broad, like, power for, you know what, those are a little too big. We're gonna go around and measure kids' earrings, and like, no way in hell that's gonna happen. Like, but I could see the spiked things that, you know, I don't know if they're on the wall with me and other kids. I see that.
Sharp points.
Yeah.
Heavy
But at the same
I
time,
don't
if-
think earrings should be part of the discussion,
No.
because Bert could reach over and grab my earrings right now, so I think any earring could be yanked out. I don't think that that's
You wouldn't do that, would you?
necessarily the case.
No, she might have done that to me a while ago.
But I want to support the administration where I can, but I also want to respect kids' expression. So if it's the spiked collars and the heavy chains, I could get behind that for a motion this evening.
but do we have any students that like wear that you have no issues with? So is it something where we just need to be punishing kids that aren't behaving proper, like how they're supposed to in school?
I don't
Where they're
think we need to
hitting
punish 'em,
walls
just
or?
talk to 'em about it.
Well, yeah, but if you have kids causing damage or hurting other children,
Well, yeah, that's a different story.
which seems like we're trying to avoid that, right?
Yeah.
So it almost seems like the issue is with individuals that need to be punished for that behavior versus making it so that they can't wear that. It's almost like we'll take away the object but not deal with the student that is doing this stuff.
My daughter and I went through a really big harangue on that because the students at Mount Holyoke College were kind of getting off the wall with how they were dressing in the 70s. And she thought it was the greatest look going. And she and I went to the wall several times over that. I finally won the battle, and her mother finally said, "Look, Dad's right." Which she didn't say things like that too often. But we've got to guide the kids somehow, and if they see this at other institutions, we got to be on guard to keep it from coming into ours because there's a lot of dangers there.
Mr. Ho, what are you seeing in the middle school very specifically?
Well, not to put you on the spot, but since we have. Yeah. Well, I would first start by saying that we're not treating dress codes as disciplinary situations. We specifically, in our handbook, removed dress codes from the disciplinary section, right? When we adopted the dress code that coincided with the high school's dress code. So we made it the same as the high school, and we took it out of the disciplinary. And so when we dress code somebody, we don't do it as a disciplinary thing. In fact, we often have the guidance counselor deal with it rather than my dealing with it or the principal dealing with it. And it would only be if somebody was ignoring the counselor's suggestions, right, or requests willfully over a long period of time that it would become a disciplinary thing, right? So if we allow something, let's say with the spike, and somebody decides that they're just horsing around and they throw their hand into the spike, now we have blood in the mix as well. Right? So there are some things that made of metal could be potentially hazardous in that way. And then in addition, if the chain becomes too heavy, if some chain were to be worn that becomes too heavy, and it just is an opportunity in some sense to become a weapon if a fight were to break out. Right? So I think there are some things which we would ask be more specifically prohibited that we had not yet drawn out. I don't think earrings were part of this.
And that, what do you need? What do you need in the motion specifically? No spiked,
Do you want the whole thing or just part of it?
what's the first part? See if we can get behind this here. I would move that we amend the middle school handbook under dress code on page 14, that students shall not wear accessories or clothing that could pose a potential danger to themselves, others, and/or property. This can include items such as heavy chains, spike bracelets. And do you want me to full stop there, or do you want and/or other items of dress?
I think it has to go further to protect both the child wearing and other children. And
Okay. Okay.
somebody gets angry and starts to swing a chain.
Okay. So this can include items such as heavy chain, spike bracelets, and/or other items of dress. That would be my motion.
That would be an amendment.
No, I had no
No,
motion.
no.
Oh, I
We're
thought
doing-
Bert did.
I thought
We're doing
Bertie
it now.
moved it.
Oh,
Someone
sorry.
second.
I have a second.
Okay.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye.
Opposed. I just think
So
it's
is it
not,
3-2?
yeah.
So it passes 3-2.
This will come around again.
All right. Next, we have. Start off.
Skip. I have to regretfully announce my resignation from the board. I informed the board a few weeks ago, and I sent out a letter to staff yesterday. Goodness gracious, if I'd ever thought I'd be emotional talking about this. My family has an incredible opportunity to move. It is such a good thing, such a good thing. So
We're the ones upset.
I know. It is very hard though. For those of you that don't know, my parents live with us and we have 3 kids, and so 7 of us we're a loud crew, and so we have an opportunity to really do something great for my family and make my husband's multi-hour commute every day a little bit shorter. So my last date on the board will be November 17th, which means that there will be a vacancy for the board to fulfill. Mrs. Merritt, you're making this harder. So I would just, if I can just take a minute now, it's truly been an honor to serve on this board. If anybody had ever told me that I would run for a school board position, I would have thought they were crazy. I did have a moment at the last meeting when we were discussing the preschool playground. It was very much a full circle moment for me, because those of you that know that I started on the board when my now 5th grader was in preschool. I started coming to meetings. So I have been completely humbled by the messages that have come. I wish I could carry Mr. Perry around in my pocket. I did not deserve that email, so thank you, Mr. Perry. I said in my letter that I am always impressed by Newport, but I'm never surprised. And I do truly feel that way. I'd like to thank all the teachers that I have worked with, and I even went to go get my teaching certificate with one of Newport's teachers, who I'm honored to call my friend. I'd also like to thank the community for taking the chance on me, not once, but twice. I have truly loved living in Newport, and I will miss it greatly. But on another note, I was talking to my oldest son, and he asked, I told him I was writing the letter to the staff, and he said, "Mom, are you going to be on the school board in the new town?" And I said, "No, I don't think so, buddy." And he goes, in true Ethan fashion, he goes, "Well, thank goodness for that." So I'm looking forward to having also some additional time with my family. But I thank all of you. I thank everyone that I have served on this board with. I have learned many, many lessons and grown a lot. And so I feel that I'm leaving this district in very capable hands. And I am so excited to see what's happening. And I will be absolutely cheering Newport along from just a little ways away. So that leaves an opening. There's already interest in my email inbox. So it's up to the board's discretion of when they want to have somebody fulfill my term, which is until March. It is a great learning opportunity. It's how I got on the board to be appointed. So that is that. Yep.
As your neighbor, you sorely
So will you. So will you.
Well, I got to publicly apologize to John for one meeting 2 years ago that I chose to speak and the board didn't want me to speak. And they called the police. And so I was standing out in the hall next to the police officer, and she asked me with near tears in her eyes if I would surrender. And I said no. Thought a lot about that since. I could have said yes, got back to the podium and still spoke. But anyways, she got my apology. You can hit me now if you'd like.
Thank you.
All right, well, I sent you a letter, but
Yes.
thank you, you have helped me along, and as I still make mistakes and don't know when to
I'll
call
text
roll
you.
call votes.
I'll text you. Roll call vote.
If she's watching, she'll call your cell phone.
Will. I will.
This is that.
Message from above.
Entertaining TV and everything, between the boards. All right, so we have no student representative report, and we look like we may have 2 students eventually that may rotate.
Working on it.
All right, and then we'll go to board communication. I'll hand it off to Donna and her staff.
We don't actually have board communication on here. I don't know if you,
Can we put it on there?
I would say we can put it on here? Okay.
Sorry. I make a motion that we add communication.
Second.
All in favor?
Roll call.
Aye.
I by
Roll call.
roll call, sorry.
Roll call.
Harold Jones, aye.
Here, aye.
Fritz Spalding Senior.
Jenna Darling, aye.
Stephen Morris, aye. All right, we'll have board communication, so now.
Yes, now you can know me. So I wanted to first thank everyone for the donations of the Halloween costumes. It was a huge success, so we're really excited about that. I'm going to be sending out another email regarding, because Halloween is coming up again, so anyone that can donate those costumes to us for next year would be greatly appreciated, so that way we already have a closet of them, because next year what I'd like to do is the same thing, but have parents actually come in and almost like shop with their kids for a costume, and so I thought that would be great. I was very fortunate to run into someone that just purchased a trailer full of costumes from Walmart. And so I was in there buying a costume and was talking with him, and he's like, "So this is for school?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, then take them all." And he just gave me probably about a lot of costumes, a lot. And they're good costumes, like Spider-Man, and they have all the parts. And so we're really excited to already have quite a few for next year. We were lucky to have some of our staff that purchased costumes for students, some of our staff donated, community members donated, so it was a huge success. And so again, we'll be doing it again next year. I'm going to be asking probably the 30th for costumes that people use on the 31st if they want to turn them in on November 1st or after. We would love to take those. With that being said, I also sent out another survey to our Newport family community about the Thanksgiving baskets. And already I have 37 families signed up to receive a Thanksgiving basket from us. And so we're working with a few local people that called and said, can we donate stuff? So that's great. We're also working with the Boys and Girls Club again, and we're working with the Got Lunch program. So we're going to be able to offer that again this year for our families. So we're really excited about that. And I want to, as always, thank all the staff for all their hard work and dedication. They go above and beyond every single day, and I'm very happy and proud to be part of the Newport community. So thank you. And if I can just say one more thing, if ever anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I will also just make people aware that if they are sending an email to me and they are sending it to my admin will answer those emails. I don't overstep. So if somebody says you don't respond because you're on I sent you an email, that's because I don't, it has to go through admin first, and so I always try to make sure I don't cross that line. So I thank everybody for that. But if you need me directly, you can reach out to me directly for anything, any questions that you have that may concern anything going on in our district. The last thing I want to say is that, as you know, the other day, our buses were vandalized. We had 6 buses, had all the windows smashed out except for the windshield. And there is a, I guess, picture of the person that did the damage that's been circulating on Facebook. So if anybody has any information regarding that, or you know of anything, or happen to be driving by and seen somebody, if you could please reach out to the police department, it would be greatly appreciated. And thank you, Caleb, for being able to get our kids to school on time.
Good evening from the business office. We are beginning the budgeting process, so we've been working on salaries and benefit projections for next year. And we've also scheduled some meetings with the admin from each building that will happen next week. So we are right on track with our budgeting process so far. I do have a request that, well, I'll start by saying the state reporting that I mentioned probably a meeting or two ago, the DOE 25 has been approved. And that document kind of generates the MS 25, which is sent to the Department of Revenue Administration. So after that was approved, it was the day after our last board meeting. Otherwise, I would have had it 2 weeks ago. But I do need a signature page for the MS 25 so that I can upload that to the DRA. If you'd like a copy, I can provide you one. And I just want to make sure to get signatures before you leave this evening. Thank you very much.
Student Services here. It has been a very busy week for me at Richards. So Lisa Frigno is not lying when she says I've been down there this week. Honestly, though, enjoy working with the kids, seeing the kids, and being any support that I can to the staff that's there. In terms of what's going on in terms of Student Services this week, we had Red Ribbon Week happening in our buildings this week, which has been a large success. I know that our student services team, including our school counselors, our SAP counselor at the middle and high school, Eva Johnson, worked hard on rolling out a Red Ribbon Week for everyone. I always say that. Last time I talked to her yesterday about it, she said that Richards was by far in the lead with their creativity and excitement. So that is huge that our little ones are getting involved and enjoying the week. And then we also, ESS, I know was brought up earlier today. I will say ESS at the middle school is doing really well. And there is a clinician there, and she's been able to make some really nice headway with some kids, and she's almost full. So there's a positive note in terms of the ESS program that's happening up there. Yeah, so not much else because I've really been quite busy this week.
There's an interview tomorrow.
Oh, everybody cross your fingers and your toes. Yes, there is one interview, and there's also someone else that's in the screening process. So thank you. I did hear that today too, for Richards. Exciting.
Curriculum here. Apparently we're doing that. So last week I had the great pleasure of sitting with every elementary teacher and talking about data. We started off by talking about our reading data because we have the most data points there. We're working on getting some more data points for math so we can have these same conversations there. But it was just really nice to sit down and talk about our kids and what specifically they need in order to make some improvements. They were really good conversations, and I really enjoy sitting and talking with everybody about, you know, what's next. So that was exciting. Another really exciting thing is we found out the other day, we received the Promising Futures Grant through the state of New Hampshire. It's $25,000, and that is going to go towards social, emotional, and substance abuse awareness. So both things that are really important to our community. So that's exciting.
Okay. Yes, I do. The other night, we attended the Dallas Brass concert at the Claremont Opera House, in which many of our kids participated. And I gotta say, Dallas Brass was good, but our kids were outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. It was so enjoyable to listen to them perform. And they need to be told that we realize how hard they worked at it. And I'll be talking to Mr. Stewart about coming over to talk to the kids in various phases, if not in mass group. But they were absolutely terrific. I just can't say that strongly enough. That's all I got. Something good to say.
Went to the expo the other night. That was very fun. That's right. You still got to buy those tickets from my son. Because he's like a hustler at school and he's trying to sell these tickets. And I'm like, do you get credit for this? And he's like, well, no, it doesn't matter who sells them. Because I bought some from some of the other girls that are they're doing a raffle for the next year's senior class. But no, the expo was awesome. It was the first time I've been, and there was just the halls were full of people and tables, and went around and talked to a lot of people, and made a joke that did you get the who was it was doing that? It was a student. Someone was doing chuck a ball for $1 fundraiser, and what was it? Bucket chuck, yeah. And I was telling Spencer Cronus, who's our gym teacher, that I showed him a $100 bill. I'm like, wait until, I didn't know anyone that was going to come up, but I thought it'd be fun. But it was just so much good stuff happening there, and so many kids just having fun, and the staff was great. Miss Martin was up there. They were throwing a ball at her. Like, it was just although your field hockey team is very deathly scared of you, because I tried to pay for their $1 and they just wouldn't do it. Not one of them would step out of line. Only one of the soccer girls were, because they were like, we're not running laps tomorrow. So they're very smart. Yes, you've done very well with them, but unfortunate loss for them on Monday, but a great season. And this weekend playing Raymond in Raymond, football game, and then it's playoffs after that. Jenna, I want to thank you for your service to the board. You will greatly be missed. You're kind of our balancing act here, so that will be a tough seat to fill. But that's about it.
I disagree with Tim. I don't think she's replaceable.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I only have 2 meetings left, so here we go. I find it hard to believe that whomever took the time to vandalize our buses, doesn't watch the board meetings. So I thought maybe I could just speak to them. So I was, just as everybody else was, appalled by what happened. But I think what this person, what your actions have made evident, you may think that this stops progress or slows this district down in some way, but you clearly don't understand that that is not what will happen, because this district constantly moves forward. And if I've learned nothing else on this board, it is that. Unfortunately, this community shouldn't have to suffer from your really just reprehensible actions. And you clearly are unable to engage in any kind of meaningful discussion about whatever you are upset about. So I would say that you are just as broken as those bus windows. And it's inexcusable, number one. The second thing I wanted to talk about or just mention is social media. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. I'm certainly guilty of losing an hour or 2 of my life scrolling. But I don't want to prevent anybody from saying anything on social media, but I would make sure that you are accurate about whatever you are saying, at least when it comes to your children. Because believe it or not, your kids don't always tell the truth. Mine don't, and I try to think that I try to raise good human beings, but they are kids and they don't always do that. And so I find it very upsetting when staff members are attacked by people on social media that don't have the whole story. And I don't like it when other parents are attacked by other people saying that they did the wrong thing. You have not walked a mile in that person's shoes and know what that family deals with or knows what that teacher deals with on any given day. And I would bet that the people that make those conversations wouldn't last one block teaching kids or 6 months as a substitute. Long-term substitute. So I would say that if you have concerns or complaints, that's okay, but there is a place and a way to resolve those. And if you don't know what that pathway is, then ask. Anybody up here would be perfectly happy to help you. I know Donna would be willing to help you. So would any administrator in the building. I think the only thing that putting a situation on social media does is placate your feelings with people that wouldn't show up to stand up next to you to say it to anybody else in person. So I would much rather be yelled at by an angry person in parent in person. Did I say that right? In person? Than listen to anything on social media. That's all I have to say.
Firstly, we have at least one more meeting with you, so I'm not going to go too in-depth, but you have kept me straight over these last few months and you came back for 1 year, and so I think that says a lot about you, and I appreciate that more than probably my 30 seconds of praise that I just tried to provide you reflects. And secondly, as a parent whose child went here, I've been behind that podium before, and I don't know the whole story, but I would be just as upset if I got 2 different reasons why my child was in trouble. And so I think that just from hearing that at a minimum, my take on it is we owe a proper explanation, and we need to make sure that we fix that system so that there's not miscommunication or multiple, or if it is multiple, then it says, offense 1, offense 2. Like you said, I'm not on social media, so I have no clue what is said. I get pictures from Zeta in Montana updating me on everything that's going on in town. Dad, what's this? So I just say to the Davises that I appreciate the information. I have it, and you do, if that's truly the whole story, to your point, there's always 2 sides, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. But at the very least, we owe a better job of making sure that we communicate effectively, and I'll just leave it at that. And it's good to be back. On that note, do we have a motion to move to non-public?
It's under 91A:3, Roman numeral 2, A and D. I've been corrected on it before, so I just cover my bases.
So you have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Darrell Jones, aye.
Fred Spalding, aye.
Jenna Darling, aye.
Steve Morris, aye. Thank you for those of you who attended tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you.